This is everything you need to know about the PIERO Spline camera, sometimes referred to as the Advanced Virtual Camera. If you have not already, I recommend watching the Virtual Stadium and Virtual Camera episode 2.5 first. Using the virtual camera effect and transitioning between them is fine when we only want a simple movement. If we want to have multiple camera moves, the timeline will quickly get clogged, and you will find yourself having to move groups of effects in the timeline to edit a single transition. For this, we have the Spline camera. If you have seen the Tracked Graphics episode, you're likely already familiar with splines. A spline can be described as a function defined by piecewise polynomials allowing... we're not going there. A spline is essentially a path. The spline camera effect allows us to define and customize a path for the virtual camera to follow. When doing this with a clip, we need to have this all contained within a pause. Starting with the virtual stadium and some static graphics, let's add the spline camera. The camera controls at the bottom here are the same as what we see in the virtual camera effect. The camera can be controlled with the mouse or with the on-screen buttons. The camera path selection is where we script our camera moves. At the top, we can add a keyframe or a pause. When pressed, they appear in the table below. When we play, PIERO will play through each item in the table from top to bottom. The left column tells us whether it is a camera move or a pause. The name column helps us identify the item. Double-click on it to change it. The duration defines the time the item will last for in frames. Double-click to change it. On a pause, more frames will mean a longer static camera. On a camera move, a higher number will mean a slower moving camera. When you select a camera, it will turn red and this little record icon will appear next to it. This is telling us when we move the virtual camera, it will save where we move it to. At the bottom left, there is a play button to watch the camera moves in the video window. Let's do a simple example. On adding the effect, my first keyframe is already in the table and recording, so we can go straight to moving our first camera angle. Now I have the choice to add a keyframe or a pause. Let's add a pause so the camera keeps looking at the previous keyframe. 25 frames is a bit short to tell my part of the story, so I'll bump it up to 50 frames. Now let's add another keyframe. It's automatically selected, so we can go straight to positioning the camera. I want the camera to move slowly on this one, so let's increase the number of frames here too. Now let's press play and view what we made. Okay, I want to tweak my first keyframe. That camera angle's too tight. Select the first keyframe in the table, and the camera turns red. Now I can use the camera controls to adjust this keyframe. Let's watch it back. With the overall workflow covered, let's look at the features I've not mentioned yet. At the top, there is an Add Return Keyframe button. This will return the camera to the position of the first keyframe. As you likely guessed, the bin icon deletes the corresponding row in the table. This top right icon defines how the camera will go between two keyframes and whether it will curve to the next keyframe or go in a straight line. Let me show you. With a curve, and with a straight line. Here is a project I made. I have some effects and several keyframes. Especially since I didn't label my keyframes, it's hard to get an overall view of what's happening here. That's what the overview button's for. The red line is a path that the camera will follow. This can be handy for tracking down a mistake. And that is everything you need to know about the Spline camera.